What's up, you guys? Welcome back to this week's One Piece chapter review, and in this week's video, we're going to be talking about One Piece chapter 955. Now, in recent chapters, we have been rapidly approaching the Battle of Onigashima. We have Big Mom and Kaido forming an alliance, we have Zoro receiving a new sword, and we have Luffy completing his training with Rio. We also have the forces building ships and arming themselves with weapons, and we have Scratchman and Pooh returning to Onigashima with the Numbers, who are these large, demonic, two-horned creatures that are going to be celebrating with Kaido. Now, we are approaching a critical mass in Wano, and in this video, we're going to be covering the sword that Zoro receives, the training Luffy has done, and the alliance that Big Mom and Kaido have, and how Wano will play out and how it will end. Now, for starters, everybody has been on Zoro's nuts about the sword that Ryuma gave him. And as viewers, we know that Zoro beat Ryuma fair and square, and in recognition of Zoro's swordsmanship skills, Ryuma gave him that sword out of respect. But we need to detach ourselves as viewers and readers of the anime and manga, and we need to look at this from the perspective of an everyday citizen of Wano. Ryuma was a legendary hero. He was a national hero. He decapitated a dragon in a single strike. His swordsmanship skills were world renowned, and his weapon was a national treasure of Wano. And here comes this stranger that nobody in Wano knows about, who possesses the national treasure, who claims that your national hero, your legendary hero, was defeated by him, and that your national hero, your legendary hero who's been dead for a while, gave him that sword out of respect. From a cultural and historical point of view, it is at the very least disrespectful and skeptical. At the very most, it is blasphemous and it is insane. Now, this is to say, the citizens of Wano didn't know that Ryuma was reanimated as a zombie, which leads us to the next question. How did Gecko Moria get possession of Ryuma and his sword? Because there's only two ways to get into Wano. One is through the waterfall, which is nearly suicidal, and the other one is to get under the waterfall, which only a handful of people know about. And then let's just say he manages to get into Wano through the waterfall above, or going under the waterfall. Let's just say he does. Now, out of all of Wano, he would have to know to go to Ringo, which is where all the warriors of Wano are buried, with their weapons that they were given since birth. So the moment he lands into Wano, from this already suicidal entrance anyways, he would have to have the knowledge, this is where I go to get the legendary Ryuma and his sword. So let's just push this a little bit further. Let's just assume he knows that he has to go to Ringo. On top of this, we know that Onimaru / Gyukimaru and Kawamatsu for a period of time were protecting Ringo. They were guarding Ringo from grave robbers, and they were stealing weapons from anybody that passed by to, build up a sword or weapon cache. So let's just say that. Let's just say this. Let's just say Gecko Moria and Hogback managed to get into Wano. They managed to know to get to Ringo to get Ryuma's corpse. That means they would have to get past Kawamatsu and Onimaru / Gyukimaru, which I wouldn't believe is too hard to do. With Gecko Moria's strength and his devil fruit, he's pretty strong. I believe in a one-on-one he might be able to take on, Gyukimaru / Onimaru and beat him. But at the same time, when Onimaru saw Zoro using Ryuma's sword, he was surprised to see the sword for the first time. So it's not like he said, well, this reminds me of the time Gecko Moria came and stole Ryuma's corpse and the sword, blah, 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 blah. Now you have it. No, he was just honestly surprised to see the sword for the first time at all. So this means, through some magical means, maybe through Doppelman, Gecko Moria's shadow, maybe he bypassed Onimaru and Gyukimaru that way and got the corpse. But this means he would have had to bypass both of them, or one of them. And then, out of all the mass graves that Ringo has, he would have had to have enough luck, enough knowledge to say, that one right there, that's Ryuma's grave. I'm going for that. Take it. Just take the body, take the sword, get past Onimaru and Gyukimaru again with the corpse, and then leave Wano. And you know the sad part about all this? One, I'm not just getting to that later on. One is extremely lucky to get into Wano, figure out Ringo is where they need to go, and then out of all the graves, pick Ryuma's. But it's extremely sad when you think about it from the average citizen of Wano's viewpoint, because they had no idea that their national hero, that their legend, was basically a foot soldier in Gecko Mori's zombie army. The level of disrespect that was put on Ryuma is just immense. But getting back to Zoro and the sword, Zoro does relent and he does give back the sword, which I think is the right thing to do in the long run. And he receives Enma. And this is from the same sword maker that created the white sword that he has and the same sword he received as a kid. Which is surprising because it is a vast contrast in swords. We have this white small blade that he receives as a kid, and it's high quality. It's high quality. It stood up to a lot of beatings, a lot of hardships that Zoro has went through throughout One Piece. But it is mostly like this white blade that is innocent but high quality versus this demonic blade that has wounded Kaido that pretty much draws on the user's haki to create these devastating cuts. And, you know, I would like to learn more about this sword maker that created both of the blades, but I don't think we ever get any more backstory into the dude or the woman, which is very disappointing. It's very disappointing because they could have really had something going there and gave us a little bit more backstory into these swords. For now, all we know is that they're created by the same sword maker, which is interesting, but tell us a little bit more about the sword maker though. But Zoro is doing a test cut. He's supposed to cut down a tree. He ends up cutting off a huge chunk of the cliff, which I'm pretty sure pisses off a lot of cartographers around Wano because they have to recreate the entire shore because of this dude's one slash. So that should just tell you the level of hacks that Zoro has just received at this point. And we learn that Enma is not yet a black blade, but with Zoro's swordsmanship and hopefully his mastery of it, it will attain black blade status. But just think about it. Zoro, so far, in recent arcs, has not really been pushed to a limit. All of his fights so far have been curb stomps, except his fight with Kiyoshiro. And now he has the sword that has wounded Kaido himself. He has a sword that draws on his haki to enhance the cuts. And honestly, the only person I see that would give Zoro a fight, honestly, is most likely Kiyoshiro and maybe Lord Orochi. They might be the ones that will fight Zoro. I don't think Lord Orochi will be the one to fight Zoro. I think it's just going to be Kiyoshiro. But honestly, if you were a swordsman in Wano and you hear that your opponent has the sword that wounded Kaido himself, and that this is the dude that beat Ryuma, I'd be shitting my pants. Honestly, I couldn't do it. The dude has a sword that draws on haki to create more devastating cuts. The dude cut off the face of a cliff, and he was just testing the sword strike. Like, just imagine if he's actually putting serious techniques behind this. Imagine the damage that blade will do with actual sword techniques that Zoro has. This dude has been trained by Dracula Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. Like, honestly, I wouldn't want to fight him. I wouldn't touch that dude with a 10-foot pole. Like, no. I would not be able to fight the dude. But Kiyoshiro, I'm hoping he puts up a good fight against Zoro and, you know, he gives Zoro a run for his money. And, you know, the sad part is, you can't say somebody's going to beat Zoro because we all know Zoro's just going to he's going to steamroll anybody that he fights. Zoro's going to win. It's not a guess. It's more so a fact of life at this point. Zoro's just going to win. Like, Zoro is just so fucking strong that I have no doubt he's going to beat Kiyoshiro. It's just a matter of what type of difficulty will it be. And I don't even have that much of a doubt of the difficulty. I don't think Kiyoshiro is going to give him a high difficulty fight. It might be mid difficulty to slightly high difficulty, but I don't think he's going to literally push Zoro to the brink of death. I would be happy if they did go that far, and it would really show Kiyoshiro's swordsmanship to, contend with Zoro to that level, but honestly, I just can't see Zoro taking an L. The dude is just that strong. He has not been pushed to any type of limit. Luffy has been pushed to Gear 4 in the past few arcs how many fucking times? Zoro has steamrolled Kamazo, who was killer. He steamrolled Gyukimaru. He seemed to have held his own against Kiyoshiro. But it doesn't seem like this dude is taking any L's anytime soon. So I'm not too worried about Zoro as far as Wano is concerned. If anything, I actually want him to lose. I want him to be pushed to the absolute limit. I want him to use that Asura technique that he had used before, where he had like the multiple heads and multiple arms. I want him to use a form of Asura in Wano. Like, what happened to that? Like, that was a very powerful technique. And now we don't see that shit being used at all? Like, what? Where was those fights that we used to have where Zoro was just going balls out, man? He was using Asura, he was fighting Kaku, he was fighting everybody, he was just doing everything and anything. He was fighting Bartholomew Kuma, he was pulling out every single trick from his asshole that he could. And now he just steamrolls people. He's gotten too strong, and now he gets this overpowered blade that makes him even more overpowered. I don't see it. But that's enough about Zoro and his sword. Luffy has finished his training with Ryo, and I'm proud. I'm proud of Luffy for finishing his training and being able to project his haki forward with his strikes and everything. And I'm hoping that he will be able to do some damage to Kaido, some significant damage, hopefully. But at the same time, you have to remember, Kaido one-shotted Luffy in Gear 4. So one thing we have to consider here is Luffy wasn't training his defense, I'm assuming. He wasn't training to, better take a hit from Kaido. It was, he's training to better hit Kaido. So we all know Kaido has the capacity of dodging a freaking attack. Kaido has the capacity of just blitzing Luffy if he really wants to. And Luffy's just training to hit Kaido and do damage. And I'm just like, Here's my logic here. Luffy's not training, at least I'm assuming, he's not training to dodge Kaido's attacks. He's not training to be able to tank a hit from Kaido. He's training to hit Kaido and do damage. And, Kaido wasn't even going all out on Luffy the first time they fought. He just simply blitzed him with one move. So I'm assuming if they do fight, and they will fight, at Onigashima, Luffy might be able to catch Kaido off guard and get damage in with a single strike or a couple of strikes. Kaido might bleed. Like, he might cough up like one drop of blood or something, and then he takes it serious. And then another thing we have to consider as well is Kaido is almost impervious to damage. Now, we don't know if this is just a natural property of his body, like his body is just physically that fucking ridiculously strong, or if his body just naturally emanates haki. But if it's just a natural property of his body at all without haki, then imagine Kaido gets hit by Luffy's attack, and then he's like, oh, I see what this is, and then he coats himself with haki. Then we just have a nightmare. We just have pretty much a nightmare on our hands. So the only way I see Luffy taking on Kaido, this would have to be with like Law's help. This would have to be with Basil Hawkins' help. This would have to be with maybe Eustace Kid. This would have to require several of the worst generation to take down Kaido. I mean, even Big Mom acknowledged you'll never be able to take down that thing. Alright, so Kaido just can't be beaten by Luffy alone. So he's going to need some backup here. This is going to be like his fight with Cracker, where Luffy was not able to do much to Cracker. But he needed Nami's help to weaken the Cracker soldiers and eat them and use that as fuel, and then, kind of turn Cracker's attack back against him. Honestly, without Nami, he wouldn't have beat Cracker. He wouldn't even gotten as far as he did. So that's my opinion on it. But I will concede this. Luffy is known to get power-ups in the middle of fights. We've seen this with Katakuri. We've seen how his observation haki just drastically jumped. So I think in his fight with Kaido, his mastery of Ryuo, or his mastery of projecting his haki forward, is going to drastically increase throughout that fight. He's going to keep getting his ass beat. He's just going to get curb stomped into the ground. Probably like 40 seconds into the fight. You know, his teammates come in there, help him. Luffy recovers just in time. He keeps getting curb stomped into the ground by Kaido. And each time, you know, his techniques with Ryuo get a little bit stronger. They do a little bit more damage. Or, you know, maybe Luffy just pulls out another Gear 4 form. And, you know, who knows? He pulled out Snake Man against Katakuri, so I would not be surprised if he pulls out another Gear 4 form. And this one is perfectly suited towards using Ryuo. Who knows? Who knows at this point? But the way I see this, the way I see Wano going down, is it's going to take more than Luffy to fight Kaido. This is going to take several members of the worst generation. We don't know where the hell Eustace Kid is. Eustace has most likely, as he has said, is pieced the fuck out of Wano. He's probably just looking for the rest of his crew, and then he's just piecing the fuck out. Now, we know X-Drake is on Kaido's side. We don't really know where the wind blows for X-Drake. For some reason, he sought Kaido out. For some reason, he's serving under Kaido for fuck all reasons. Now, Scratchman of Pooh, we know that he's clearly under Kaido's left ball sack, so, you know, there's that. Scratchman of Pooh is not going to switch up anytime soon. But, so it's probably going to be Scratchman of Pooh versus, I think, another of the worst generation and like a one-on-one fight between them. We might see a little bit more Scratchman of Pooh's abilities. We're going to see Kaido versus like one or two of the worst generation. But we also have to remember, there's Lord Orochi in the background. Alright, Lord Orochi is behind Kaido. And then on Kaido's side is Big Mom. So they are allies there. And I don't think Big Mom is just going to sit by and let Kaido get his ass kicked. But at the same time, I'm assuming there's such a thing as Yonko pride, you know? And what I mean by Yonko pride is like, well, if you can't handle all these kids, you know, can you really call yourself a Yonko? And I don't think Kaido would let Big Mom kind of interfere in his fight. I kind of believe like Kaido has like a Kenpachi Zaraki mindset here, where it's just like, oh, you're able to wound me? You're able to actually give me a challenge? I want this to happen. I want this fight to happen. I want you to hurt me. I want you to be able to kill me so you can give me a fight worth actually living for. That's what I'm thinking Kaido probably has as a mentality, as a mindset. And the only other thing I can see going in Luffy's favor for like a one-on-one fight or some other shit is maybe like Kaido's drunk. Like maybe Kaido's drunk, like Big Mom has those hunger cravings, and how during her arc, when she couldn't eat the wedding cake, she got more and more slim, and how she got more and more, you know, crazy and ravenous, and how you know, her stamina was drastically weakening, and it was just drastically deteriorating to the point that people was thinking if she couldn't eat that wedding cake, she would die. Maybe, you know, with Kaido, when he's drunk, he doesn't think clearly, he gets a little bit more weak, or, you know, I don't know. Luffy's going to need about every single handicap he can here to win against Kaido. He's going to need every single handicap. He's going to need every single advantage. He's going to need every single ass pull he can take at this point to beat Kaido. But like I said, this is not including Lord Orochi, who has his own force behind him, who has his own samurai behind him. This is not including Big Mom, whose crew is nowhere to be seen. I'm assuming after several days they probably did reconnect with Big Mom, because now that the alliance is on and popping, I don't think that the Beast Pirates would immediately attack Big Mom's crew the moment they set foot in Wano. So I believe Big Mom is probably reconnected with her crew. So we're not only talking about the Beast Pirates and their 20,000 people. We're talking about Big Mom and her family and her crew backing her. We're talking about, you know, Lord Orochi and his forces backing them. This is a significant force. 20,000 plus people versus what? Luffy and his forces, 4,200 to 6,000, maybe? I don't know. I don't think that they can win this. The only way I see Wano possibly turning out, I'm just going to end the video on this, because I've been ranting and rambling, But the only way I see Wano possibly turning out is that the world government has not forgotten Lord Orochi's shit talking towards CP0. And they just send in like a buster call. They throw in Kizaru. They throw in Fujitora. They throw in Green Bull. They throw in all the freaking Shichibukai. And they was like, yeah, we remember all that shit talking you was doing, boy. And we also need to remember, the Marines were shitting themselves when Shanks and Whitebeard met because they feared the two would fight, or they feared that they would form an alliance, and that made the Marines and the world government go into a cold sweat. So imagine the diapers of the entire Marines and the entire world government now to discover that Big Mom and Kaido are now in a full-fledged alliance. If I was the world government, if I was the Marines, I would put that shit on full stop right then and there. I would drop every single resource I have. If I have to send in several admirals to do it, so be it. Drop in Fujitora, drop in Green Bull, drop in anybody you can spare to put that shit down, because that alliance cannot stand. Like, those two are both heavily unpredictable, physical tanks and monsters. And the fact that they have formed an alliance together, oh hell no. Like that, I don't think One Piece would be able to withstand an alliance between Kaido and Big Mom. But if the world government can't do it, and I don't think the world government can, I think they currently have Reverie. So we have, basically Fujitora, I think Green Bull at Reverie, who are dealing with the Revolutionary Army there. And, dealing with all that shit there. So I think their hands are already tied with that. Their hands are already tied with protecting the celestial dragons, the other nobles around the world, and that current thing that they have going on in Mary Joy. But I think if not them, and it's not going to be the Revolutionary Army. The Revolutionary Army, I think, still has their hands tied with the world government and Reverie. So maybe, it can't be Shanks. Shanks is at Reverie. So Blackbeard? Maybe Blackbeard. I'm thinking maybe Blackbeard. And the thing is, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine Blackbeard kind of joining in on it. I mean, I guess Blackbeard, in my opinion, doesn't really have much motivation for jumping in on this fight that Luffy has against Big Mom and Kaido at Wano. One, we would have to assume, like Gecko Moria, that Blackbeard knows how to get into Wano. Which, I'm just going to give Blackbeard the benefit of the doubt here. Blackbeard is very smart. The man does a lot of fucking homework. He did the homework to get the Yami Yami no Mi, so I'm assuming he will do the homework necessary to figure out how to get into Wano. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch of the imagination that Kaido figures out how to get into Wano. But the next reason here is, like, why? Why would he want to get into Wano? Why would he want to fight two other Yonko that, could possibly kill him? And I think the reason he would do this is simply because they could possibly kill him. The world government had said that there's only a few people capable of stopping Blackbeard. And that was Marco and the former Whitebeard pirates. We know that Marco and the former Whitebeard pirates got their asses kicked. So, not them. Shanks has no interest in fighting Blackbeard, so it's not him. Kaido and Big Mom. Yeah, I think so. Like, if they're forming an alliance to take over One Piece, then Blackbeard is the only other Yonko, because Shanks gives fuck all about anything. Blackbeard is the only other Yonko that stands in their way. So if they're forming an alliance, they would have to basically be targeting Blackbeard himself. And Blackbeard, as a Yonko, I don't think he would stand for it. I don't think he would just sit by and let an alliance happen to take him down. I think Blackbeard would put aside his pride, or, get off his ass in drinking, and say, well, you know what? Luffy may hate the fuck out of me, but I'm going to help take down Kaido. I'm going to help take down Big Mom. Maybe we're going to have like a fight between Big Mom and Blackbeard, one-on-one or some shit. Blackbeard kills Big Mom. Kaido gets taken down by Luffy in the worst generation. Luffy and no one else knows that Big Mom is dead until it's too late, and Blackbeard's already halfway back to his fucking island drinking and laughing and shit with the Soru Sori no Mi in his possession. Who knows? Then again, now that I think about it, and I'm still fucking rambling, and this is 25 minutes, but now that I think about it, now that I really, really think about it, Shanks. No, not Shanks. Fuck, my mind is just foggy now. Marco and the former Whitebeard Pirates, they might be the key to actually turning Wano into Luffy's favor. If Marco is able to pop up at Wano, if Marco and the former Whitebeard Pirates are able to pop up at Wano with a significant enough force, this might turn the tides. Because like I said, I think the world government might get involved, but they would need to throw some real heavy hitters here. They might be able to throw CP0 into Wano to help Luffy out and, take down Lord Orochi, but I don't really think they'll be able to send an admiral level person like Fujitora or Green Bull or Kizaru. And I don't think Sakazuki himself is gonna come. That just sending a fleet admiral to deal with Wano, that's risky. that's risky. Dealing with 2 Yonko with just a fleet admiral? No. The world government has its hands full with Revelry, and the Revolutionary Army has its hands full with Revelry. So it's not like either one of them are just going to come to Luffy's aid or send a significant enough force to help Luffy out with Wano. So I think the only other parties I think would help Luffy out at this point is Blackbeard or, the former Whitebeard Pirates. Maybe Edward Weevil. Maybe Edward Weevil would jump in on this. I don't know. I'm pulling shit out of my ass at this point, but my 2 main bets at this point is Blackbeard comes in to take out this alliance of Yonko because it's a threat to his own status as Yonko. Because they're the only 2 other Yonko outside of Shanks who can beat him. And we know Shanks really doesn't have too much of an interest in fighting Blackbeard too much. Shanks doesn't really have much of an interest in anything. He just pretty much goes about doing his own Shanksy shit. So, maybe Marco. Maybe Marco and the former Whitebeard Pirates come, but we have not heard much about what they're doing, what they have going on at this point. So, who knows? I'm thinking it's more likely Marco and the former Whitebeard Pirates come to Luffy's aid. But if Blackbeard shows up and it's 3 Yonko and Wano, then shit is going to get ridiculous. But if Luffy manages to take down both Kaido and Big Mom by himself, I would be stunned. Like, if he managed to take down Kaido 1 versus 1, I'd be very fucking stunned. And, I'm talking about, no handicaps, no assistance from anybody else. He beats Kaido. Then Morgans was right. He is the 5th Emperor. But I'd be pretty angry because, this is a drastic jump in power. And this is just a drastic jump in power. He's only had a couple of weeks of training. This isn't like a month or 2. None of that shit. This is a real drastic jump in training. I don't know. This is VM. This is just my thoughts. I came off as rambling, and I've had to do this recording several times, so if I stutter and I trip over words, oh well. I tried. But this is my last time doing this recording. But, like you guys, what do you guys think Wano is going to end up as? Who do you think is going to help Luffy take down Kaido, Big Mom, and Lord Orochi? Bye.